We are very fortunate today to have three excellent speakers on the Highway 156 toll road. Our first speaker is Todd Muck, who is the Deputy Executive Director of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. I've known and worked with Todd for probably 20 years. He was formerly with the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments and has been involved with the transportation planning for all those years. So Todd lives in Carmel with two sons and his wife, and he will be giving us the background information on what the toll road is.
Thank you, Janet. Well, when I saw the title and the handout that went out for this event today, Highway 156 Toll Road and Will It Work, I couldn't help but add to be determined, because we're not quite at the point to find out whether tolling will work, and I'll go into that a little later. But I just want to make it clear that it's something that our board is investigating right now, but there needs to be more information before a decision can be made. And the purpose of this project was, I think this group, we're all locals, as you well know. It's to improve safety on the 156, improve local access to the residents in the Oak Hills neighborhood and along both ends of the corridor, and to relieve current and future traffic congestion, which happens regularly, both for workers commuting to and from jobs and visitors trying to get to and from our communities on the peninsula. This project, it's been going on for quite a while. The road itself was constructed in 1941. The current interchange was built in 1970. This is the first time there was an interchange on 156 and 101. The current interchange was upgraded in 2006, and that provided some local access connecting Prunedale North and Prunedale South around that area. And the analysis for this current project, the 156 West Corridor project, which is officially called, concluded with an environmental impact report that was signed in 2013. Part of the development of the design for this project and the alternatives that were looked at was a community advisory group that was formed back in 2007 and met for almost 2 years. And that group was a pretty diverse representation of interest along the corridor, and I listed them all up here. I won't go through them all, but that was the process that looked at quite a few different alternatives for the highway. And what I'm showing here are the 5 main alternatives, and those expanded into 12 alternatives were finally selected from when the environmental impact report was done. And really they looked at expanding the existing highway alignment, putting 2 more lanes on the current highway, splitting it, keeping the 2 lanes and then adding 2 lanes, and the ultimate alternative, which was to put 4 lanes adjacent to the highway. It also looked at what we called the Espinoza Road alternative, and that comes up pretty frequently. And interesting enough, looking back in that document, that alternative cost 200% more than the next alternative. And primarily that was because of its high real estate and environmental impacts. It touched through 3 different sloughs that currently aren't impacted. And it would have required over 200 acres of prime farmland. So that really drove up the cost of the Espinoza alternative. The reason I included this was just to show the alternative that was selected, and ultimately we're talking about, it starts just outside of Castroville. It would include a new interchange at Castroville Boulevard, 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, adjacent to the current 156, and it would go back into a new interchange at 101. And this allows a new facility for through traffic and allows local access to the Cathedral Oaks and Oak Hills Road and others. So just to give you an overview what the corridor and the preferred alternative is. And I also wanted to mention that when we're talking about tolling, there's been quite a few changes in tolling technology, and we are talking exclusively tolling that requires either a fast pass, which is this box down here, or a video detection that records the license plate and sends the toll cost to the registered owner. We're not talking about stopping anywhere. This all is done at speed. So it's the technology that's consistent with the Bay Area, and it would be implemented here. Areas like the Golden Gate Bridge no longer has toll booths. It's all either the fast track or the license plate reading. So that's what we're talking about as far as a toll facility on this project. And then the tolls would be collected somewhere between the two interchanges. So you have to be on the new 4-lane facility in order to incur the toll. So I want to go into some detail about the project because I'm always a little surprised how I'm so familiar with it that sometimes I realize some people don't know all the details. But what we're talking about, this is Castroville Boulevard. The current Castroville Boulevard comes in right here, and it has an at-grade intersection with a signal. And what this project will do, will build a new interchange that separates the at-grade traffic with the 156 and Castroville Boulevard. And it also includes a separate connection to the current 156. So new interchange, so you can cross over 156 and utilize the ramps on each side. And this was designed as a tight diamond, they call it. So it will take up less farmland and have less impacts on adjoining properties than a more standard spread out interchange. One of the things we've heard is interest in a Blackie Road extension, and this is not currently part of the project, but it's something that we have a lot of community input requesting this be included. So that's an alternative that we're looking at very closely. And what that would do is Blackie Road extension would connect over to the Castroville Business Park, where it's one of the largest business parks in Monterey County. And there are a lot of trucks, primarily agricultural produce, going in and out of there. Ocean Mist is located there. And that would allow trucks to avoid going through Castroville. And that's something the Castroville community is very interested in, not having so many truck trips down their main road and having their ability to make Castroville a little more community-oriented. So Blackie Road extension is something that we're interested in looking at as well. Going farther down the project, adjacent to the existing 156, the toll route would cross Mohokoho Slough with the new 4 lanes, 2 in each direction. The existing Route 156 would stay the same. Cathedral Oaks, the road veers off slightly, but still the existing Route 156 connects to the community there, and there's the local access on the existing 156 and the toll road on the new facility. Farther down, there's some major high voltage power lines, and the project does work its way around those. I've been told that it costs upwards of $1.5 million to move any one of those towers. So when you talk about the cost of moving the towers, it's less expensive to move the road, evidently. And then going into the Prunedale area, you have connections for Meridian and McGuffrey up here along the existing 156, connecting it to Prunedale North. And then you have the new facility connecting into a new interchange at 101. And now the new interchange at 101 is a really critical part of this project. And the reason is there are a lot of existing conflicts here. There's the hook on-ramp from San Miguel Canyon, where people have to go from practically a stopping point up to freeway speeds. Then they have to merge and negotiate a weave between them trying to get on the highway and folks trying to get off going to 156. And that's a really short weave section, so this project is designed to solve that. And then on the east side, there's weaving from the entrance ramp going northbound on 101, and then a really tight exit at Vieira Canyon Road, and another tight entrance on Vieira Canyon Road, right there by the Vallejo gas station. And that's something that's not designed up to standards. It doesn't work very well. It's not safe. And this project would eliminate those. And then, of course, there's also the exit for San Miguel Canyon. So there's a lot of things happening right in this area, and the interchange is designed to resolve those. Now, this is the design for the new interchange, and I just wanted to go over a little bit of the features and point out a few things. The interchange is designed to provide access from 101 to 156. Similar to the way it is now, you would just take the exit off. But the big difference is instead of using the loop, if you're on the toll road here, this would be the toll road, there's another sweeping on-ramp that goes directly onto 101. And this is for the interregional traffic. And the really interesting part about this design is it separates the interregional traffic from the local traffic. And it really allows a lot of movements for the locals where they don't have to mess around and intermix with the interregional traffic. So, and it also provides some additional opportunities for locals that's not available now. Primarily, San Miguel Canyon Road gets extended, and this is a two-way section that comes down, and it becomes the frontage road right next to this is where the Safeway is, and it becomes a frontage road that provides access to the interchange down here. So if you're trying to get from San Miguel Canyon up to the Safeway over here, instead of having to use Prunedale North and go around or do something where you're getting on and off the freeway, you can use the local circulation. And instead of having to get on the freeway just to leave Safeway to get back on San Miguel, you avoid all that weaving, you take the frontage road, and have your option. So it provides kind of two directions of travel for the local Prunedale community. And then it connects Berta Canyon in with Vieira Canyon, so you can stay off the highway when you're getting between those 2 points. And also, you can't really tell from this design, but it went through some major design revisions and negotiations. It originally was designed as a huge urban, multi-level, several-story high interchange that was really focused on those interregional trips. And through discussions with the community and looking at the designs, it really got reduced down to what is a one-level interchange with the separation of the interregional trips and the local trips. And what I mean by that is, right now, the current interchange is about up here, and you have the bridge that crosses the deck. That's the one level. So this new interchange has that same type of bridge crossing the highway, but it also has the flyover. But it's at approximately the same level as the bridge. So it's one level, it's not multi-stories. It really reduces the visual impact, and the design is condensed to reduce the footprint of the project. This went through an environmental evaluation process with an environmental impact report. It was eventually signed in 2013. And what we're doing right now is when you're looking at tolling, it's something that wasn't looked at in an original environmental analysis. So we're going to need to do additional environmental analysis of the impact specifically of tolling, and looking at what we call the socioeconomic impacts, which are the cost to folks to use the road and the impacts of potential diversion from the toll road, and how that changes the circulation around the community. So that's part of the process. The project itself is somewhere in the range of $266 or $68 million, but that is assuming that we could build it right now. You push it off more, with inflation, the price escalates. We have some money already put aside for the project, but essentially we need approximately $220 million to move forward with that. That's way more money than our region receives from the state or the feds for transportation. So it's an amount of funds that we just can't save up for without saving up for 20 or 30 years. So we need to update the environmental document looking at the tolling option and diversion. And we need to study how the tolling various funding amounts could be. So when you're looking at the cost for tolling, we'll look at a range of costs so that you'll see the elasticity of the impact. You might take the toll if it's $2, but if it's $5, you won't. So what level will people be willing to pay and stay on the toll road versus diverting to the alternative route? We're also looking at local discounts, because we realize that this road does impact the folks that live around it and the businesses around it more than other folks who are using it less frequently. We're also looking at how to do this, and primarily one option is a public-private partnership, where you have a private partner that does components of the project. The private partners would do the design, the financing, and building and operating and maintaining it for the life of the project. And the toll revenues are used to pay back the bonds and the financing for the project. So like a home mortgage, where you would borrow money from the bank, and then pay it back over a period of time. That's essentially how this would work, where the tolls are the method for payment. And then finally, the tolls that are collected can only be used along the corridor. They can't be diverted to anywhere else in the county or the state. So when people pay a toll, they're paying a user fee that goes directly towards the facility that they're using. Our target schedule is to continue to evaluate the public-private partnership, finalize. Eventually, we'll need to move into the environmental impact report process to develop it, and doing a traffic and revenue study that will give us this detailed information about the toll rates and the diversion impacts. And it will go back to our board to make a decision somewhere around 2017. And if this is approved, if this is the method that is used to fund the project, it would get built and be ready to use in around 2022. And I just want to mention one last thing is we've had a lot of public input on the project. We've had a lot of public meetings. And one thing our Transportation Agency Board did is to put together a list of guiding principles that they want to use to evaluate various options when we move forward. And they're fairly extensive. I brought 15 copies up here if anyone wants them after the meeting to look at them. And they're on the TAMC's website, which is tamcmonterey.org. Along with a lot of other information about the project. So if you're interested in looking at any more, you're welcome to come to our website or grab a copy of this. But the guiding principles, they're about making it fair to all parties and giving us direction on how to move forward to continue to analyze the tolling option. And they'll be the basis for making a decision when the board decides one way or the other. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you very much, Todd. That was very good background information. Our next speaker is Jason Burnett. Jason is the mayor of Carmel. He serves on the board of directors of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County and is co-chair of the Hwy 156 ad hoc committee. And he's also president of the Monterey Peninsula Water Authority. And Jason is going to talk about issues that need to be addressed before a decision is made.
Well, thank you, Janet, and thank you to the League for hosting this. It's great to have a venue to start to flesh out some of the questions early on. I'm going to just present a bunch of questions that I have. If you were coming hoping to hear answers, I don't have any answers. And I apologize for that, but really that's part of the theme of my comments, which is that for a complicated project like this, you don't want to try to figure out what the answer is and then figure out how to get there. You instead, I think, should be guided by principles, and you should be guided by analysis and good careful study.
As Todd mentioned, the TAMC board has developed guiding principles, and I encourage that to happen, and am encouraging a refinement of those principles. But first, why are we even talking about Hwy 156? Why is it a priority of the TAMC board? Why did I offer to co-chair it? The ad hoc committee with first Supervisor Lou Calcagno and now Supervisor John Phillips. Imagine you drive from right here in Carmel up to San Francisco and back. You can do that whole trip, and the whole way you hit one stoplight. You hit a stoplight on Castroville Boulevard, right there where Todd mentioned. And you can do that whole trip on a divided road, a 4-lane road or more, except for that 4 or 5 mile stretch. Imagine you live in Oak Hills. Imagine you have a son or daughter who's learning to drive, and coming right outside of their house, the first turn you have to make is with traffic that's going 55, 65 miles an hour, and it's hard to find a brake. Imagine you have you're living there and you have an emergency, and it's right at the time when the Monterey Peninsula visitors are heading back home, and emergency vehicles can't get to your home in a reasonable time frame. Imagine you're a visitor coming to the Monterey Peninsula and you sit in a couple hours of traffic on your way home. Or imagine you're the family of the woman who was killed a couple years ago, and you won a settlement, $18 million settlement with Caltrans, where there's recognition that this is not a safe section of road, but then you look and still nothing is meaningful is being done. Those are all the reasons that we're here talking about 156. It's a problem. Now what the solution is, again, I don't know, but I will say it's clearly a bigger concern for North County than it is for most of us. You know, I don't typically drive it, and when I do drive it, I typically am able to avoid the rush hour. And so I think reason that I'm interested is, first, it's a problem. I have great sympathy for North County residents who live with that problem each and every day. And it's an issue for us and our visitors here on the peninsula. And TAMC has made this a priority for a number of years, and then recently has made it TAMC's top priority. Next, I just wanted to clarify what we're even talking about. So Todd talked about the new alignment. The way that I really think about this is we're not talking about doing anything with the existing 156 other than to, in essence, return that to the local residents in North County. Right now, it is not their road during peak times. Sure, they can use it, but they can't use it effectively and they can't use it safely. So the notion is, let's just build a completely new road, and let's call it Highway 123. I don't care what we call it. It's not Highway 156. Leave Highway 156 where it is and let that be something that is available for more local traffic. And as Todd described, the design provides a lot of thought to regional traffic and local traffic and trying to keep those separate because the needs of those two groups of people are fairly distinct. Now, of course, this comes to a question of money. And it's not easy to finance a $166 million project. You know, we can do bake sales and raise silent auctions and raise $100,000 a year, and it will take 2,660 years to get this project done. And in the meantime, we don't want to talk about what will happen here. I'll say everyone wants something for free, but roads are not free to build. So the question is, who pays and how do they pay? And primarily the question of who pays is a question of fairness, and a question of how do they pay affects behavior. I'm trained as an economist, environmental economist, and so I'm trained to sort of think about these sorts of things, of how prices affect behavior. So if you make something free, you tend to encourage more consumption of it. The free buffet, I may go back for seconds after my talk. But if I had to pay, maybe I wouldn't. That happens throughout our society, and it's just the way human nature is. Now, historically, we've had a gas tax and the Highway Trust Fund for paying for roads. And that's sort of fair. You know, people who drive, they buy gas, that therefore pays for the roads. And it made sense, and it worked for a while. And it at least marginally discourages driving because you have 18 cents more per gallon when you buy gas. But that whole system is falling apart thanks to the inaction of our US Congress. Gas tax hasn't been indexed for inflation in a number of years. And fortunately, all of our cars and trucks are getting more fuel efficient, which is great. But it turns out Priuses and Teslas still need roads to drive on. And that disconnect is only going to grow larger as more and more people have more and more efficient cars. Highway Trust Fund is already effectively bankrupt, and our infrastructure nationally and locally, those infrastructure needs are not being met. Gone are the days of going back up to Sacramento or DC with our hand out. We've actually been successful so far for this project, raised, I don't know, 36 million that way.
32.5 million.
Okay, give or take a few $1 million. Senator Boxer helped a number of years ago, and we've received some money from the state as well. But the prospects of continuing to do that, I think anyone who follows dynamics in DC these days would know that's not a productive conversation to have. We can have it, but it won't result in a lot of money, I don't think. And the bond money in the state is no longer there. So what are the other options? So you'll hear talk about a sales tax. But let me just offer a couple sort of pros and cons of that way of paying for any road, in particular this road. So for starters, everyone who buys things effectively pays sales tax, but is it really fair for people who don't drive all that much to be paying for a road the same amount as people who drive a whole lot? You know, some people don't drive on that road at all. Is it really fair? Some of you may not. Certainly other people in the county don't. Is it fair to ask everyone to pay for something that's used by a smaller population? Using a sales tax to subsidize roads affects behavior. Historically, the gas tax had it so that the drivers were paying. But if you create a disconnect between who pays and who benefits, then you create all the distortions associated with subsidies. And is that a good idea? I don't know the answer to that. These are complex questions that we need to analyze further, but I would just caution that it's not a panacea. Furthermore, a sales tax, just the political reality is, hey, we have a lot of needs locally. And if we are going to put a sales tax on the ballot and ask all of you whether you want to support a sales tax, it's going to have to address the needs of all of us voters. And my burning need is not Highway 156 as a voter. My burning need is the roads that I use here around Carmel. And I think fairness dictates, and just the political reality requires, that any sales tax would have to benefit far more than just that one 5-mile section of road. Unfortunately, the economics are such that it would require a full 50% of a sales tax dedicated to just that one 5-mile stretch. And I don't think that the political calculation of all of you, and I don't think the political calculation of me, is such that we could get behind that. Because we have too many local needs, and you need to have something that would be would have something for people in Salinas, voters in South County. How about the idea of a hotel tax? That would more directly target our visitors. Makes a lot of sense. Let's say that you put $1 per room a night. Just want to offer a couple of the distortions that creates. It may be a good idea, but imagine a couple that drive separately and come down and stay in a room for one night. Let's say you put $1 a night room tax on. Couple comes down, drives separately, they stay, they pay $1 per car. That's effectively 50 cents, right? Now imagine another group of visitors who carpools. 4 of them come down, they stay in 2 rooms, and they stay for a week. They're going to pay $14 per car trip. So you're actually discouraging carpooling that way and discouraging the longer trips relative to something that more directly focuses on miles driven, like a gas tax does. Now, remember, the origin of the hotel tax was to address the local impacts of our visitors.
100% of it stays within our community. So Carmel's 100% goes into Carmel's general fund. Same for the other cities on the peninsula. And we have a lot of needs for that. Our hotel tax in Carmel is $4 million, and that enables us to have things that we would not otherwise be able to afford. Things that matter to, I think, all of you, and I can list those. We can all pick our favorite things that are in the budget, but quote, discretionary items like Sunset Center and libraries and repaving roads, when you're comparing it against public safety, if we didn't have, if we had to share that hotel tax, it's not something that I think I could support. And I don't think it's something that other cities would support. Remember, we need, this road will cost to finance $1.3 million a month. It's a lot of money, and you got to think about it in those large chunks. So I'll close by just saying, America has a long history of subsidizing the automobile.
We subsidize it through our roads. We subsidize it through our military. We subsidize it in a variety of ways, direct and indirect. And I just pose for you the question, do we want to continue that tradition, or, because that tradition tends to lead to more sprawl, it tends to lead to greater greenhouse gases, it tends to lead to impacts on our communities that I don't personally favor? Or do we want to try to move in the direction of funding our roads by the people that use the roads, such that we don't have this subsidy and the adverse consequences that come with the subsidy? Now, I don't know what the answer is, and I'll say no one is advocating for a toll road. What we are advocating for is to have a principled approach to this question, given the complexities involved, to do the analysis so that we all can be more informed about the trade-offs involved. Worked with Supervisor Calcagno, and I'm now working with Supervisor Phillips. I have told Supervisor Phillips that I will follow his lead. This matters more to his constituents than to mine. More directly impacts most of them than it impacts most of people living in Carmel. And I don't intend to push anything that is not beneficial and of support by their supervisor. So that's where we are. People are inconvenienced, hurt, killed. We don't have any easy funding options. We have a new supervisor that's taking a fresh look at this situation, is working through the local impacts, and we're going to see what he comes up with. And I'm just asking all of you to wait and so we can hear that vision be articulated, to understand both directly from North County and through their elected official what they want, and then allow the time for staff to analyze those options. And I hope that we all favor decisions that are informed by careful study, good analysis, a principled approach. And I'm just asking that we allow the time for that study and that analysis, that principled approach primarily out of North County. And in closing, I'll just say it's way too complicated and way too important to do otherwise. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Jason. I understand you have to leave at 1:15, so...
I'm co-chairing the effort with Jimmy Panetta on the Veteran Cemetery, and we have the honor of receiving a very sizable contribution, over $500,000 for that effort up in Santa Cruz, and I need to make it up to Santa Cruz by 2:30. So I am going to have to go momentarily.
Do we have a few questions of Jason? Cynthia?
I have two questions. First of all, what is the amount it would cost to collect the toll fee on 156? That's the first question. And the second question is, have you thought about unintended consequences? Like Proposition 13 in 1978, Sacramento didn't listen to the homeowners, that the taxes were going up and up and up. So they did an initiative and passed Proposition 13. And then in order to fund things, everybody had user fees. And then the free market system, when a couple was married and they'd buy their starter house, and you had kids, then you used to sell it and buy a bigger house. Well, because of Proposition 13, it's sort of flipped that around. So there are a lot of unintended consequences because you're taking the easy way, the more practical way. To me, now, it seems like it should be funded by a gas tax. And I know the political reality is hard, but have you explored all the unintended consequences of this?
I'm sure that we've not explored all of them, which is exactly why we're taking the time to do the careful analysis. And in fact, the study underway is to do just that. Now, I think that part of your question may be a statement that it is impossible to anticipate everything in these complex situations, and I completely agree with that. The issue is that there are unintended consequences whatever option we pursue. If we do nothing, we know what some of the unintended consequences will be. If we do a sales tax, we know what some of those unintended consequences. And so it becomes a a balancing. I would love for this to be paid for with a gas tax, and I will continue doing what I can to encourage our elected officials at the federal level to do that, but they seem to be focused on other things these days.
And the collection fee, how much is that going to cost?
Oh, that's also being studied. I think that the aquarium did a study in terms of what the visitors may be willing to pay, which is a different question than what you're asking. But the basic answer was visitors completely understand the notion of paying tolls. Most of our visitors come from places where they do pay tolls, and up to $5 was sort of the break point.
We can accept one more question, and because Jason's going to have to leave, and it's Mr. Mitchell.
As a veteran, I want him to leave.
Good, okay.
Not as a member of this board, though.
Yes.
Hi, my question is, I live in North County, and I'm interested about what you're saying about waiting for Supervisor Phillips to catch up with the subject, which of course is immense, and I understand that. But while we're waiting for him to catch up, you're suggesting that we all wait and see what's going to happen and what his decision will be, whether he cares to support the toll road or not. So during that time, while we're waiting for him to come up to speed, are you suggesting that TNC will stop moving ahead, preparing to go into a public-private partnership? Because all along you have been, the board has been moving along doing that. So does that mean that you're going to cease and desist while we wait for that Phillips to catch up? Or will you continue?
I'm going to repeat the question for our videotaping. The question relates to the time lag during which Supervisor Phillips will be getting caught up, and whether or not TAMC will continue its work towards addressing the solution.
I think it's a great question, and in fact, we have delayed. There was going to be a TAMC workshop focused on this. I forget the details of what was going to be on the agenda, but for, I believe, March, Supervisor Phillips and I got together, and recognizing that, and out of deference to him to take the time to think this through, we pushed that off, and so we did push off the anticipated whatever funding was going to be asked of the TAMC board at that point. And I know that he's working on this quite diligently, and he's a quick study, and I look forward to, I can't commit on his behalf, but I can say I will do my part to work with him and hopefully get to the point, like we did with Supervisor Calcagno, that there could be a broad framework and these guiding principles that there could be broad support for. We delayed putting items on the board that would further this project until Supervisor Phillips and the rest of the ad hoc committee can take stock of where things are. So the answer to your question is yes, and we have already done so.
Thank you.
I want to thank Jason very much for outlining some very complex and complicated issues that need to be considered before the TAMC board makes a decision. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. Thank you, Janet, and to League. I apologize that I have to go, but I do.
Our next speaker is Ed Mitchell. He is a retired Army officer and retired aerospace engineer, and a longtime community activist who has lived in North County for 24 years. In the last several years, as master of the Prunedale Grange and as a member of the Prunedale Preservation Alliance, he has analyzed TAMC's proposed Highway 156 toll road and all the issues related to it. And so, Ed, you're on next.
You didn't tell them that here. What she left out in that bio is that I also drive Highway 156 a number of times, and I've been hit on that highway. And so let me pick up from where Jason did a really good job of leading into exactly what we're talking about. And that's a fair treatment of people in regards to the solution in a balanced, diligent manner. And that's exactly what the Grange has been doing when they sent them a resolution in 2012 after analyzing it and listed the difficulties and risks within it and some recommended impacts. Let me answer the unexpected consequences. And I'll ask a question first. Why was it that the Prunedale Preservation Alliance had to bring a thing, it's called the 2009 PRIG report, which is a national study of public-private projects that deal with toll roads being funded, or public roads being funded by toll road fees, and what went wrong with that across America. See, I come from the aerospace and military background, but when you pick a course of action, you sit down on your team and you look at the strengths and weaknesses of it. And the weaknesses of your course of action are risks. And you're not afraid. You encourage people to talk about those risks because what you're trying to find out is what might go wrong and how can we fix that and go forward. And that's the story that I bring to you today and talk about what you weren't told and some of the risks that are concerning people in North County. I do not represent just myself. The Grange, the Prunedale Preservation Alliance, a survey of 600 and some homes that we sent out to that was done by the PPA, and data that's within the PRIG report. I'm just going to read you to give you a lead-in of why there are things that, one of the things that bothers me is when we have agencies that give you the rosy picture all the time and don't tell you the downsides. Okay, we have been diligently working on the answers to just the things that the mayor was talking about, and that's what I'm going to give you some insight into. And this is what that PRIG report says out of their executive summary. And I've provided all of our documents, our resolutions, commentaries to the newspaper, the Grange resolution, and this document to Janet in electric form, and the results of the survey and a copy of this executive summary is in the back of the room. This is what they say. Though privatization may offer short-term relief to transportation budget woes, it often has grave implications for the public. Though these privatization deals seem to offer state officials a quick fix, they often pose long-term threats to the public interest. The unexpected consequences is not really what's bothering some of the people in North County. It is the expected and known things that we from our own driving around the roads know, as well as doing the research. And we've been the body that's been bringing this type of information to the public, and I wish to share with you today. Here's an alternative. That's cheaper and faster to solve the problem of the clog on 156. A single project road bond, which is structured to incentivize the contractor to do a design build ahead of schedule and be rewarded for it at the end financially. Now that was done in 1998 down here on the Carmel Valley Bridge, and it worked excellently. And if it's good enough for Carmel, some of us feel it's good enough for North County and the county as a whole. Here's a question I'll ask you. Why is it that in San Benito County that the traffic problems on the Pacheco Pass and the county roads over there have been solved while we've been sitting around here talking about it? There's a lot of money in this deal, folks. And there are people who want to get that. But really, going out to the public and saying, we as a community have our families, our friends, our people who come visit us, it's a terrible problem, share in paying for it. And, and that money can only be used for that single project. Now we think that's a better solution because it also walks away from the problems with the design, the remaining problems in the design of this project. Now you heard Todd talk about how the Castroville area is trying to divert truck traffic away and get traffic so that that community is not disrupted. But you didn't hear that, that their own study, finance study, that says that $2.50 per car, that 30 to 35% of the traffic will divert onto the side roads. Now just take your own road. If you had a 30% increase in traffic, and that includes ag trucks, Do you think there'd be one more, your road would get torn up? 2, would you have more congestion? And 3, would you have more safety problem? This solution at the Prunedale end migrates and shifts congestion and traffic problems onto Castroville Boulevard, San Miguel interchange with North County Boulevard, Blackie Road, and also onto the side of Salinas' Sala Road. And you're going to have ag trucks that are going to easily divert, because the report doesn't talk about what do the ag trucks pay per axle. And it's very easy to slide down those roads, and that's going to put traffic onto the edge of Salinas and down through Blackie Road. We have tried to get the project to address the issue and include in the project monies from the toll for building road improvements, maintaining the roads, and doing what may be needed for safety improvements, signage, barriers, lights, and they haven't done it. Additionally, that's one of the major design problems with the project. It doesn't solve the departing traffic problem. So, you know, what I'm talking about now is some of the weaknesses while providing easier access to the tourists to get to the peninsula, and it's a safety and it's an irritant. It doesn't solve the outbound traffic problem that's hanging up on Highway 101. The people in that area will tell you, well, it moves, the traffic jams is going to occur earlier up there. It's an unfair burden for, in terms of paying fees to the North County ag trucks, the businesses, while it's a benefit for the business of the hospitality trade. You want to talk about discipline and principle? Then this argument that, well, the hospitality industry can't pay one dime, not one penny, not one mill to help get the toll road paid for, but the ag companies and the other companies and the small businesses in North County that cross through there and have to use it, they're going to have to pay a fee? That doesn't sit well with some people. And it's not just me talking, it's about talking about the business people who come to Tamsin and say, wait a minute. It's an unfair burden to both the peninsula people, yourselves, and the North County people who are going to have to pay a fee to use that road. Initially we said, well, if the locals, you know, here's some workarounds. Put money up to fix the side roads and don't charge people that live within 2.5 miles of the businesses. And that was okay until the public-private project approach starts. And the private companies don't want those side roads maintained well. They want it to be a problem to force their profit-generating traffic onto that toll road. The guiding principles that are talked about should be taken from the PIRG, which we have recommended, because it shows how companies in the past have not contracted well. State agencies and localities have not have been taken advantage of. How about a 99-year lease where you only, the fee and what gets paid to the county is only set at one period of time, and the contractor can raise the price anytime they want? So if you want to look at the unintended consequences, I urge you to go read the PIRG report and get a copy from Janet. The contracting would be much better if that were improved, at least if you did took those as guiding principles. Now let's talk about the survey for just a moment. So I want you to catch this. We want a solution. We think there's an alternative that's better, faster, cheaper, has worked in the past, and that that the public could get behind because it'll prevent us from having once a toll road, always a toll road out here in this county. But if it didn't pass, I would have to say, I'd be the first one to say, look, folks, you want it, the only way left to Tansy is a toll road. So it's not an issue of trying to stop safety improvements. It's trying to make sure we don't shove some safety problems onto the side roads, and it's okay for those people to have to suffer through it, while part of the community that's getting great benefit isn't paying a dime. So here's what the survey, we asked 7 questions, it was sent out. The answers were written so that inherently you know what the question was. Now, 94% yes, we should get a chance to vote on this issue. 94% yes, there will still be backups on Highway 101 on weekends and holidays. 91% yes, diverted traffic will cause problems. 89, almost 90% yes, toll road revenues should be provided to mitigate bypass traffic. 88% the hospitality industry should provide financial support for toll road construction. Not paying is unfair. Come on. 80% today I'm against the road project. The way it's currently set up. We've been pushing for trying to get some improvements on this. 50%. No, I would not like to see a traffic light. The other two questions aren't of much importance to anybody but those up there. So that has caused a number of us to keep pushing. Well, we watched TAMC, and it seems to some of us that there is an agenda to do the toll road and its lip service to other areas, and the Prunedale end of this design, people are putting at risk. We don't find that to be fair, dignified. We think there are a lot of answers that are common sense that are there, and we haven't seen, we would like to have a TAMC staff and board that actually diligently works at both sides of these.
Now is the time for questions. Amy?
Ed, would you, maybe I missed it, would you clarify what you mean by problems at the Prunedale end? What specifically are you talking about?
Specific problems at the Prunedale end
Right.
would be that we know that we will have bypass traffic that'll spin down onto Blackie Road. They will try to turn onto some of them will try to turn onto San Miguel Canyon and go down the old 156 or down the Castroville Boulevard. It's increased traffic congestion in that area, which San Miguel Canyon Road is a major north-south thoroughfare, and that's really going to jam stuff up in that neighborhood. That is the type of problem. So if you could fix some of that, where we say if you didn't have a toll road, you wouldn't be having that diversion. That's a solution. Or if we're going to face the diversion, then why can't our neighborhoods have some lighting or fix the roads when they start getting torn up? Because Blackie Road is going to pick up a lot of truck traffic.
Karen?
I want to echo Mayor Burnett's question, which is a general question to Tansy. When he said, why are we talking about this toll road at all? Why are we talking about 156 as a toll road? And my follow-up to that is what happened to the long-time plan for the Monterey Peninsula in terms of taking the traffic between the east and the west, both north and south, and putting it on a road that runs through the south of Fort Ord.
Question is, why a toll road? And secondly, what happened to previous plans to deal with north-south traffic through Fort Ord? East-west traffic through Fort Ord?
Okay, I might need a reminder for part of that. So maybe I'll start with the second half and the east-west road through the former Fort Ord. The decision to take that out of the plan is before my time, but I believe there was a consolidation of the traffic network using General Gym and then the East Side Parkway as an alternative to the road that you're speaking about. And the alignment for that road would have gone through the Fort Ord Monument, what is currently the Fort Ord Monument, and the habitat area out there. So as far as I understand that's no longer a viable option. In relating that to the traffic that we have on Highway 156, that route would have served the traffic between Monterey and Salinas more directly. And we've, at the Transportation Agency, do a lot of regional planning, not just the 156. We're in the process of concluding a study of a corridor between Marina and Salinas. We call it the multimodal corridor because the focus on it is to enhance high-quality transit and bicycle facilities, and that's essentially on the Imogen Parkway, Blanco, Reservation Davis corridor. So we are looking at other ways to address that peninsula to Salinas and back and forth traffic, but that's not necessarily the same traffic that if folks are trying to get from the Bay Area to the peninsula to Monterey County that the 156 serves.
May?
If the toll road goes through, have you studied the effect it would have on Highway 68 and increased traffic on 68?
The question is, if there is a toll road, what would be the impact on Highway 68?
We did an initial analysis of the impacts of traffic, and we called it a sketch level analysis because it was just to look at whether tolling was a reasonable concept to consider evaluating. And Mr. Mitchell projected it in a different way. He talked about the 30% of the traffic that won't use the toll road. And the difference there is we looked at a range of roads from Highway 68 all the way up to 152 in Watsonville. And then we looked at other options, including Blackie Road and Castro Boulevard and Dolan. And if when you build this road, either as a toll road or as a non-tolled road, circulation throughout that area is going to change because people are going to figure out what's the easiest option that they have. But when you build a toll road, you're providing significant capacity that's not there now. So it's not 30% more traffic on the side roads because they're trying to avoid the toll. It's 30% minus all the traffic that's there now that's trying to avoid the congested existing 156. So it's going to be a balance, equilibrium between routes. And one part of that is if the toll is to be successful as a toll road, to be funded, it has to be paid for. And the analysis and the funding that means people have to use it. So if the majority of people choose some other route, then the toll road wouldn't be successful. And that's the next step of this. Denise asked about the board proceeding with this project, but maybe what wasn't clear is we haven't even gotten to the analysis for our board to make a decision of whether tolling's correct or not. The next step is a very detailed level of traffic and revenue study to look at the traffic impacts that swapping between people who are currently avoiding the 156, who would move over to the toll facility, all those variations, who might take 156, and then what the toll rates would need to be for it to be successful. And then I just wanted to mention part of that is what kind of discount can be provided to the locals that are obviously impacted more than other folks. And we're talking about the folks that live in Castroville and Prunedale and the businesses that work right in that area that have trips there every single day. So part of that high-level analysis of traffic and revenue looks at giving discounts to different groups in order to have parity.
The unmet maintenance needs in Monterey County is $4 billion. The current 30-year plan is less than $1 billion of that effort. Additionally, Highway 156 is not the most unsafe road in the county. It ranks probably 10th or 12th. So within that broad context, could each of you address why the focus on 156 as a priority, which has been a priority of TAMC for years? So who wants to answer that first?
Well, the Transportation Agency Board went through a process of defining their priorities.
And the 156 did come up on top of that list, but there was a long list. And a big part of that is local street and roads, because our investment in our local street and roads is a pittance of what we really need to maintain them. The reason for that is in California, the gas tax has not been increased since 1994. And that's a 18-cent tax that's collected at the pump, and essentially with inflation, that's comparable to 9 cents now. So while we haven't had any increased revenue to maintain roads, we've actually had a decrease in the value of that revenue and an increase in environmental costs and costs of doing construction. Our board actually does pursue a lot of different things. The 156 is the top highway project right now. Before the 156, it was the Prunedale Improvement Project, but now that that's coming to completion, we moved on to the 156. But our board also has priorities ranging from transit improvements, bicycle and pedestrian improvements, local street and road improvements. We have a range of priorities.
Actually, there is a sister initiative that TAMC, hop in if I've got this wrong, sister initiative that TAMC has where they want to come back and bring a broader list of road projects before the public. Correct?
Not just road projects, but yes.
Right, but it includes road projects. Okay. And that's towards the larger issue. Let me tell you why they failed in the last 4 efforts to get a road tax. There was 4 of us, Mike and Francie Weaver, myself and my wife, who were the voice of the people that opposed Measure Z, which was the last road tax. And if you come forward with a bait and switch written document that allows you to list priorities now and that they will change and be finalized in a year, which means give me your money and then you'll get the real list. Those of us who are pessimistic, skeptical, and in a year from now they can change. And you do not put restrictions of where the money will go, that it can be loaned to the county or loaned to any county agency, and there's no requirement for payback or interest charges. Those type of measures, if written that way, come across as bait and switch, and they go down to defeat, because a lot of us are tired of seeing taxes like Measure V and Salinas that people say they're going to be spent one way and they get spent another way. The voting population is upset about that behavior. My suggestion, or the suggestion is, well, let's do one road project, do it on time, do it fast, do it well, and deliver what we said we're going to deliver on. So the county's been having a hard time to get money for their road, for the whole network. I claim it's in the design, the way they've written it. And they didn't listen to when I went and tried to be the loyal opposition and offer the things that the bill needed to have in order to get people's support. The only thing that showed up there was the sunset clause. Those other issues about where the money goes and really knowing what you're buying, that didn't happen. The bill went down to defeat, and I hope we don't do that again.
We'll have 2 more questions.
I have 2 questions actually. One is the impact to low-income residents in the county. Any sort of toll would be an enormous sum for them to come up with. And the second question is the idea that if we facilitate traffic, it doesn't sound like this really is going to facilitate and get rid of any sort of traffic blockage, is that easy in means easy out. If I can come down to Carmel for the day instead of staying overnight, then I'm going to do it if it's easier to get down here and get out of town. I might even pack my own picnic lunch before I come down here.
First question relates to the impact on low-income residents, and the second one relates to if traffic congestion is eased, will it result in fewer people spending time on the peninsula?
Okay. The impact on low-income residents is one of the key things that the supplemental environmental impact report will have to look at. It will look at socioeconomic impacts, and that's one key group that it will be evaluated. So that's certainly something that we'll have more information as that study's done. The use of the road is optional. There is the existing 156. We are talking about the local discounts, but that all gets factored in and it'll be looked at in more total in the supplemental environmental impact report. And then as far as I guess it's a matter of opinion about whether the level of congestion here now discourages people from ever coming back when they're sitting in traffic for multiple hours after visiting the peninsula. And that's the impression that I've gotten from folks who are in the tourism business, that they feel like people are discouraged from coming to the peninsula because of the traffic.
I just want to add to this. There is a who's subsidizing who issue here in this effort, okay? The hospitality industry, all they have to do is, come on, cough up something into the, don't sit there and say, we want the benefit, we can't stand it affecting the rate or giving up a little bit of money. You guys can, and that means you and everybody in North County and truckers, and so poor people who will divert if they have to avoid the toll, or a trucker to avoid it. So you're right on to the issue of who's subsidizing who.
Is that Beverly?
Again, you stated that this is not the most dangerous road in Monterey County. Would you please tell us which ones are?
Well, the last analysis was done in 2008 based on traffic accident rates, and I think Highway 1 north of Moss Landing, Highway 101 south of Salinas is very dangerous. Todd, maybe you can...
Actually, currently I'm not sure what the answer is because back when, I think Janet's thinking about the last time we've talked about it, Salinas Road Interchange wasn't built yet, and that was the top location in the county. And since then, the Prunedale Improvement Project has been done, and all those turns across the medians on 101 through Prunedale are now eliminated, and so that's a much safer corridor. And now the San Juan Road interchange by the Red Barn is being completed, and you can no longer cross the highway there. So all of those were very, very dangerous spots in our county and amongst the top locations, and they're all wrapping up as far as projects. So we'll have to look at what's top right now.
Okay, thank you. Let's just have one more wrap-up question. Gentlemen?
This is a question for Ed. You mentioned one single project bond. What do you think is the likelihood of voters in King City who won't use the toll road, and voters in Carmel who have very high home values actually voting to support that bond and getting the 2/3 required to pass?
Question relates to the chance of success for a specific project bond.
Assuming there would be a body of people who stand up and try to explain that you got a choice here, toll road or a free road, it may or may not pass. But I'd rather put that in front of the people and let them make that choice. If they want the toll road, we're going to live with it. If they don't, then we'd have the other route. And the density of population at this end and the people on Highway 68, that, hey, let's put a toll road on Highway 68. Move it from Prunedale, put it over in 68. So if you don't want toll road going down your way, there are people like me out there voicing these things, trying to get people to say this is really a wiser, cheaper approach in the long term. May not pass.
I want to thank our panelists very much for a very informative presentation.